Goddess. Got it. Here we go. Setting up our meeting. And yes, here we go. We are getting started on the show. I shouldn't sing. I'm not a singer. Like that's not something I need to be doing at all.
Tone deaf. If you want me to jump in, I will, but I don't know that it's good for anyone.
Right? I mean, we can show it off. We can totally show it off that we are here doing this. Now, I just have one little challenge here, is that you are not in the video with me. So let me see if I can change this view and if that will shift it. There you are. Okay. Here we are, Goddess. Okay, we are in it. We are doing it. Welcome to the show. And hey, everybody, and welcome to the Everyday Goddess Live, a space that examines the intersection of science and sacred to inform your daily lifestyle choices. Yay! From Goddess to Goodall, we talk everything from myths to mental health, power and pussy, feminism and patriarchy, and literally everything in between. I apparently got a lot of energy today, so we're going to roll with it. Because I'm your host, Carlen Costa, the Everyday Goddess, a clinical sexologist and psychotherapist. And we're here today, joined by the amazing Georgia Sapounas, right? Am I pronouncing that correctly, Georgia?
You're so close. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. Georgia Sapounas, you got it.
Georgia Sapounas. I love it. I love it. It's a beautiful name. I find Georgia, it's such a beautiful, it's a powerful name. Unlike so much like the woman standing in front of me with her amazing jacket, her red lips. Georgia, can you do me a favor? Introduce yourself to everybody. Tell us who you are. Tell us all the good stuff about you.
Of course. Hi, everyone. So I'm Georgia. I love to help people play full out. So that can be in any arena of your life. That's what I'm about. So whether it be pushing the limits and boundaries of our day-to-day life, of sport, of business, digital, you name it, that's what I enjoy doing. So I met Carlen through Instagram, as we do these days.
As we do, yeah.
We had a beautiful transition of as I left Toronto, she entered Toronto, and I was like, girl, this is going to be an incredible chapter. So yeah, I mean, that's the Coles Notes about me, which I learned Coles Notes, I think, is a Canadian thing. I mentioned it last night and people didn't know what I was talking about.
Fair. They also don't know about free healthcare down there either, though. So we're not going to hold it against them,
Facts. Actually, they do know about it. But they know that it lives that way in other countries.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. But you are amazing. So you skated for the Canadian national team. You participated in 3 Olympics, and now you are the digital creator for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like, I'm sorry, no big deal.
It's been a fun ride. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Skating was a massive part of my life. So figure skated for 20 years, was on the national team for Canada for 8, attended several world championships, medaled there, and I learned a lot of life's lessons within that container for sure.
Wow. Okay,
and then
sorry, go on. I apologize.
Oh, no, not at all. Oh my God, let's expand on it. Sure. I was just going to say then the Olympics, I went to work in the Olympic world, and I was in Sochi, Rio, and Pyeongchang as we brought the Olympics to Canada through our channels, Team Canada specifically. And then, jumped ship, and here I am working within the NBA, which is a dream for sure. So, yeah.
Like, we're going to talk about that dream, because that, like, I have that dream. I think I don't know if they need a sex doctor, but like, I'll be surrounded by awesome basketball players all the time. That sounds like a good time, is what that sounds like to me. But Georgia, let's talk about skating. So this episode really is all about women in sport and sports and athletics and what that means and what that looks like. And I'm like a kind of sporty, like not really a sporty person at all, but like kind of, I played soccer growing up. My Portuguese family was so proud. Like I definitely had played sports. Now, you know, I work out with sports, but I don't really like do the sports. But I commend women who are in that world, who have that discipline and that dedication. And
Mm,
like it just amazes me, like the discipline, the dedication. It amazes me the commitment
mhm.
that you reconcile to achieve like everything, especially that you have achieved. So talk to me about skating. Talk to me about how you got into skating. What was that like?
Oh my goodness. So context is because people are like, oh, from Canada, got into figure skating, makes sense. But I had a mother from Tennessee, so where it's hot in the USA, dad from Greece. Also, figure skating is not really a thing there.
Not really. I've been to Greece. It's beautiful, but no skating that I saw. Yeah.
So these two immigrants then end up in Canada raising their kids. And at, I think it might have been 3 years old. I don't know. I saw the ice capades, like, and I was like, I want to do that. And I saw the Olympics and I was like, oh, I'm going to go do that. You have like a 4-year-old. And then when I was 4, my mom, you had to be 5 to start skating, but I was like a giant of a child. So she was like, they won't know. It's okay. Don't worry about the integrity part of this. And starting it all out on the lie, saying I was 5, but I was 4. It's fine.
Yeah, it's Canada in the 80s. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. We were allowed to get away with a lot more stuff at that time. Totally. Yeah.
So yeah, 80s, 90s. Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like it was, yeah, before the internet, everything mainstream, everything's online. I feel like we could get away with a lot, but
absolutely.
yeah. And I mean, it was one of those things where my brother started first and I was like glued to the glass and I was like, let me go do that. I was like 3 years old. And my mom was like, oh, like, I think you have to be a little bit older. Like, we'll get you signed up, whatever. And the second I could get out there, I mean, that was it. I fell in love with it immediately. And so, yeah, I mean, that's how it got started. And then one thing led to the next, led to the next. I remember actually very vividly being young, I don't know, maybe 7. And my mom was talking to my coach at the time saying just how much I was in love with the sport and that I wanted to go to the Olympics and all these things I wanted to do, all what I saw for myself. And she actually said, oh, that's what all the kids say. Yeah, it's very, very unlikely. That's probably not gonna be a thing. And so of course you have like your 7-year-old you that's like, I hear you and I'll show you.
Yeah, I hear you, but I don't know if I'm going to believe you is what you're saying. Oh, a little defiant child. Me too. I love that. I love that about you. Yeah.
Yeah. So
then you trained, and what does training look like to get to the national level? Because you know, I just think about, honestly, as a cisgendered woman, like I think about how much I don't even want to wake up in the morning. And then when I'm on my period, I don't want to do anything. I don't even want to lift at my gym. Like, I'm like, I don't want to do anything. And I think also as a woman, there is this underlying kind of messaging that, you know, women shouldn't be competitive. Women need to be kind of more submissive, a little bit more passive in our lives. Right. And you defied it all. And that's incredible.
Swung so far the other way.
Yeah.
Like he was the most competitive, definitely embodied a lot of masculine energy. But yeah, in terms of the training, my goodness, I look back and I'm like, I have no idea how I did that. Can't even fathom that I did all of those things. I mean, gosh, the fitness testing, the rigor, the training program. Like I remember we were in the gym every day of the week, except for when they didn't believe in rest as much back then. I feel like it's more part of the equation now.
Yeah.
But traditionally, yeah. So we were in the gym 6 days a week. I mean, it was each 4 days a week. I remember we were doing 10Ks. Like that was just like your casual, like cardio was like a 10K run. 5 miles if any Americans are watching, or sorry, 6 miles if any Americans are watching. Wow. And that was just part of the cardio. Then we would have our spin class. We had our weight regimen, and that would change every 6 weeks. And so basically you were doing weights and that cardio every single day. I actually remember in the winter, in the dead of winter in Toronto, running when it was like, you know, when they have the warnings about like the wind warnings and the cold warnings and whatever.
Yeah, like don't go outside.
Yeah, now I'm like, oh no, perfect. A good excuse to sit inside. Wonderful. Back then, no, I would go run my 10K in like the ice while it was like the cold warning, and I would have like the wind burn and stuff. But I was like, it's fine. I have to get my training in, and that's the easiest way. And so like it's just wild. And like the mornings that I remember first year university, we had 6 a.m. Sunday practices. Like, who does that? They do it intentionally, so we're not out partying on Saturday night. And so I would walk through the dark to my car from university and head out to practice, leaving at 5 a.m. to be on the ice at 6 every Sunday. And we didn't finish until 2, because we would have like segments on ice, off ice, training, back on the ice. You got it, right? So man, I swear I napped so much through university.
You would have to, right? You would have to nap. What university did you go to?
University of Toronto.
All right, U of T. Okay. All right. Big love to U of T people out there. I love that. Okay. So what did you major in, may I ask?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, so I did communication, culture, and information technology, and there was a spinoff with digital communications that was with Sheridan as well. And then for fun, which I'm like, not sure about the definition of fun here, but I decided to do an extra because I was a specialist, and then I did a major in art and art history, and that was like my for fun half. And so, yeah, so I've like put like my artistic side on a shelf here and there throughout my life, and I'm definitely bringing that creativity back in like a big way. And I've been painting lately and all of this as well. So really happy about that.
Wow, that's so incredible. Did you know at the time that you were doing all of your figure skating that you were going to end up in digital communications, or did it just kind of like naturally progress?
Well, when I was young, I told my mother that whatever I did when I grew up, it would not involve a computer.
Right? That's a fun pipe dream that we had. Yeah.
Right, but it's as if the craziest part of it is that I went so deep, like into like, okay, it's not going to involve a computer. Oh no, I'm going to like build websites and like,
yeah.
create content for the internet. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. You're like, well, I guess I'm going to do, but you're defiant. You even defied yourself. You were like, I'm not going to do stuff with the internet and computers. And now look at you. You're like, well, I'm just going to rebel against that and just do what I want, you know?
Exactly. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But no, I think when I entered, I remember being 18 and you had to like fill out all your applications, whatever. And I was like, man, they want us to choose already? Like, how are we supposed to choose? How are we supposed to know? And I remember like getting into programs from like architecture to, you know, I thought maybe I would do a double major in art and geography and be a teacher, which like I never even took a geography course in university. I did not go in that direction. Yeah. And then there was like this other side where it was around digital communications. And I'm like, this like, you know, I feel like there's something here. This is the direction I'm going to head in.
Yeah. Okay. So before we get into like where you are, I want to come back to where you were, because skating for the Canadian national team, like bow down, you know, and I like, that's incredible. What was that experience like to achieve national level recognition?
Oh man, I feel like when you're in it, all you can think about is that like the goal that's in front of you. And so for us, it was go to the World Championships and be a world champion. That was literally the goal, which still annoys me to this day that my highest achievement is a world bronze medal. I'm like, no, I wanted the gold. Like what? I'm like, no,
Georgia, we could be friends. We could totally be friends. I get that. I get that feeling.
I mean, it was incredible because I mean, between the ages of 16 to 24, I was competing internationally in other countries. My first like time on a plane was to Italy to compete for Canada there. And that was like unbelievable. First of all, I took gravel and knocked myself out for the entire plane ride. They woke me up when I got there, but like Dramamine, if any Americans are watching, I'm now sensitive to the like, let me translate.
Sorry, let me Americanize my English for you for a quick second. That's great. Totally fair though, totally fair. And I mean, now you don't even have to take Gravol. Now you can just take like a THC CBD gummy before you get into security, and away you go. Up high. I'm just saying, try that next time, Georgia.
Sure, I got you. I've been having, and I don't know if you have brands involved. Can I mention a brand?
You can mention whoever you want. Yeah, I'm not on the contract yet.
Cool, because you said CBD. Beam is, they have this like dream sleep powder. That is magical if people ever need to drift off to sleep. So definitely had some of that when I was in Toronto.
All right. Thanks, Beam. We'll say that. Okay. So you went to Italy, you competed, you won a bronze medal on the world skating like national stage.
Yeah. I bronze in the junior worlds and bronze in like senior, the actual full-on world championships as well. So I have 2 world bronze medals from those. But and each of the international trips, so that Italy trip, that was one of our my first international competitions. We had international competitions, and then we also had the world championships if we made it that particular year. So yeah, it was a fun way to start to see the world, like a very, very definitely I feel very privileged to have been able to have those experiences and go and do that. And the mindset the whole time. And I think it's okay that I say this now, but it was like beat Sweden because they were the top of the world.
Yeah.
Time, every run I did, every treadmill, all I could see is like somebody like one of the women on the Swedish team, like running beside me, and I was running faster than her. It was like all the motivation I had was to be greater and better and do more and work harder because they can't outwork you if that's what you're doing. So
I love that. Well, that visualization. Sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
I was gonna say that visualization, like mindset stuff, right? Like that's champion work. Like that's what champions do. Who taught you that? Like where did you get that like gumption from? You know what I mean? Like where did that come from for you?
Oh my goodness. That specifically, I can't pinpoint that one, but we did a lot of mental training. Every night before bed, I would, in my head, lay down. I go through the relaxation technique where, clench every part like one by one, and then relax every part of your body. So you're in this relaxed state. And then I would go through our programs and I would go through them until it was perfect in my mind and then drift off to sleep. And it's interesting because I didn't know about, as you drift into like your subconscious mind and how much you can solve problems in your sleep and all of these things and the training and that you can, it's so powerful. And then even in the first 10 minutes of waking up, we did these practices, but I just didn't know almost the magic behind them as much when I was that young. Yeah. But it was, right before we go to bed, right when we wake up in the morning, that was like part of the technique. Also, we had certain fitness test standards that we had to reach. And so literally I would get up and my morning routine included like full on push-ups, sit-ups, like just like anything that would help me rank higher in fitness testing so that I could like secure my spot, because we had to not only perform on the ice, but also have like the fitness standards to then be able to get the check to say, yes, okay, you can have a spot in the lineup and whatnot as well. And so, there was like it was just kind of almost ingrained. But then we had like our journaling that we did, which again, something we all do now, which is so powerful, right? Where we would free flow and evaluate everything we did. Because of the type of sport it is, you're evaluating every move you make. How did I feel today based on what I ate? Am I fueling for performance? Everything was about performance. Everything. And so it was like getting enough sleep. Like that's where all the naps came in. I napped through my university classes. I'm so sorry, my professor.
They're fine. It's fine. You still got a degree. You're fine. Yeah.
It's a good place to nap. Actually, I shouldn't be saying that. But anyways,
tell them where the good places to nap are. Students need to sleep. They don't sleep enough.
Just like try to be further in the back row, like get there early enough so that you don't have to like sit in the front and nap in front of your professor. 10 out of 10 do not recommend. But
no, I got really good at sleeping with my eyes open. I was like,
what? Okay, that's wild.
Like drift out. I was like, this can't be healthy. We need to stop this practice right now. I get that. Yeah.
I'm impressed. But yeah, everything was about performance. And so it was ingrained in us with the coach day in and day out, how we showed up. Every day we had to show up and you had to be there 15 minutes early, which, I mean, I'm not really like, I'm very fluid with time generally. And from the Greek culture, I don't know how it was with you growing up in Portuguese.
Growing Portuguese, same. We're same. Yeah. We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, fluid.
Yeah,
very fluid. No, coach was firm. Like if you're not 15 minutes early, like you're late. You have to be there 15 minutes early. We had our routine. You show up on the ice and you're there. Everything else in your life falls away. She said, keep it beyond the boards. That's how she put it, because it's like in a ice arena. So that was the analogy of keep everything beyond the board. So no matter what disaster happened in your life, the second that you stepped on that ice, it was like you were in a different container, you were free and you were concentrated and like everything was in check, mind, body, everything was like in sync. And we had to be for each other as well. There's 16 on us on the ice performing at one time. And you gotta be on like an inch off here or there. And like, yeah, people get hurt. So we had to be on for each other as well.
Wow. So I'm not going to lie. I don't know a lot about skating. I think it's really great. It's literally like the only Olympic sport I watch, because I'm just like, it's just so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And we've had some really great like Canadians like participate, like Tessa Virtue, right? Like so many incredible Canadians participate at that level, at national and Olympic levels, right? What did your parents kind of say through all of this? Like, what were your parents like? What were your friends like? What were your family like? Were they just like, this girl is nuts, but like she's doing it, so I'm going to support it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, so my friends got used to one thing, and it was, I'm sorry, I can't, I have skating. And they were so used to it. So it was like, I was invited to everything, especially through university, right? I feel like, when it came to like parties at university, they were going every night. And I was like, Thursday, like Thursday after skating.
Thursday.
Yeah. I finished my skating practice, finished spin class, come home, get in the shower. They hand me the shower beer and then we go to the pub, like whatever, whatever it was. I shouldn't actually repeat that was my exact routine, because I know my skating coach is like, but it's years have passed. I feel like it's fine now to admit these things. And then Friday, but that only Friday when like practice was at night on Saturday. But I had to I feel like once a week is all I could do, because I could feel the impact of what it did to my body if I went out like partying. And so I just like, my body literally, you need to be like on and ready. So I kind of, had to monitor that. So friends were used to, I'm sorry, I can't have skating. And so I was going to come out when I come out, but there's no way they can convince me otherwise. Like, there's no way ever to get out of skating practice, ever. Like, I remember the day I graduated from university, then I went to skating practice.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Like I didn't go out to celebrate. That's like for another day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it was like, I don't know, proms or things like that. No, you go to skating practice and then you like show up late at whatever the thing is.
Fair Greek. So it's fine.
Yeah. So friends were used to that. And then family, I mean, like immigrants, like from hot places, like coming, being like, what is this whole thing? They had no clue, which was kind of beautiful, because you get those like skating moms and stuff. I didn't have any of that. They just didn't have a clue. They were like, she loves this. And like, that's great. We couldn't afford it. So I had to hustle my butt off to like raise money and do all of these things to be able to do it. And so, I mean, it also gave me even more skills around like hustling or making things happen when I was young. Now I try to flow with life more than the make things happen, but I feel like there's both are beneficial in moments.
Yeah, there's a fine line. There's a fine line between it all, right? I think success requires a little bit of flow and a little bit of hustle, right? You got to know where you're going in order to get there sometimes.
Exactly.
But that's really neat. That's what I was going to ask you next, actually, is, those skills that were nurtured in you. It's not only discipline and commitment, but like you said, like hustling, like figuring out, financial stuff. Did you find that you kind of grew up a little bit faster than some of your peers because of this experience?
Oh, 100%, 100%. This and many other experiences.
Yeah.
But yes, for sure.
All right. I got to get a little personal. You ready? But did you date though? Like what, like, did you
Mm,
have a love life in university, while you were going through all of this stuff? What was that like? What's it like to
mm.
date a national superstar athlete?
I did date while I was figure skating. I had two serious boyfriends. So I remember there was one from 18 to 20, and then one in my, like, I don't know if I was like 22. Um, yeah, that's about right. So yeah, definitely had like two loves during that time. Um, my skating friends and I joked afterwards that, and I don't know that that's the case with these two, but a lot of their boyfriends where they like had the same boyfriend, for like 5 years or whatever it was, and then they stopped skating, and then they were like, oh, I don't like this person now that I
Yeah.
get to actually spend a significant amount of time with them.
Yeah, no, it's like being on birth control. Same thing happens. Yeah, you're like,
Yeah,
wait a second,
yeah.
something was hiding this from me. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
it.
but
Okay.
you just made me remember this. So my boyfriend from 18 to 20, I remember one day he was like, I'm just not a priority for you.
Mhm.
And then he's like, I'm your number 4 priority. And he listed them off. And it was skating, he's like, skating's your number 1. And he's like, and then he probably said friends next. He's like, skating and then friends and then university and then me. And I just looked at him because I'm like, you're not wrong. That's the
Yeah.
exact list. Like, I don't know how you want me to respond to this, but I
Smart
can only
man.
see you on Wednesday. That's the only night. And yes, I do give my friends Thursday after skating practice and Friday because they aren't more important because I know they're forever.
Yeah.
I didn't say that to him. I mean, I feel like I'm
No,
not that bad.
no. You said it in here and in here.
Yes.
It's
Mhm. It
okay.
was,
You
yeah.
you prioritize. I mean, you prioritize. And at that age, that doesn't really happen a lot, right? I mean,
Mm.
as a therapist, I see women of all ages, and I used to do like, the university college tour where, you talk about relationships and sex and all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk to some, not all, but some young women, or I even remember at my age
Mm.
being a young woman,
Mm-hmm.
the priority was, okay, I'm going to get my degree, but like, then I'm going to get married and like have babies and like do that life. And I was very much like you, where I was like, what are you talking about? What do
Yeah.
you know? Like, that
Yeah.
sounds like the worst idea ever, to be honest. I got so much
Yes.
more to do. You
Yes.
know?
Yes.
Some
Yes.
people, I remember
Same.
some people would joke and say, you go to university to get your MRS.
MRS. Oh no. Oh no. I reject that. That I didn't even like. I couldn't even understand what you were saying. I was like, no, it's gonna be a
Exactly.
no for me.
Well, exactly, right? And so I went to Western University. Big shout out to
Party school.
Western, right? And at Western, there was also like subsidiary, I guess subsidiary is the word, but colleges. So there's King's College Brescia and Huron. And that's
Mm.
what we would joke about. We would joke and you say you go to Huron to get your MRS.
Oh my
And
goodness.
because like a lot, I mean, you would just see a lot of that would just happen. All of my friends that went to like Huron got married, had baby, like that was the dream. That was the goal. And now they're in my office 10 years later and they're like, I'm unhappy with my life. And I'm like, tell me about how you didn't prioritize yourself for the first quarter of
Oh.
your life. Let's go on with that. But right, so
Exactly.
that must have resonated with you as a woman, as a single woman, as a single powerful woman, right?
Mm.
And trying to nurture and prioritize intimate relationships, whether they be friendships, family, or lovers. That
Mm-hmm.
must have been such a thing for you to juggle at the time.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, they did sit in that solid number 4 spot
Yeah, good
on
for
my
you.
priority list. And that
Yeah,
was, I mean, clearly was a little bit insecure about it. So, the next one had a lot more confidence.
yeah, fair.
And we didn't need to talk about priorities because we were happy and enjoyed each other. But yeah, the time that I had to be able to give to a relationship was limited. So it was more around quality time and that, those moments together, and that's it. And I feel like that's all that matters too. People place too much of an emphasis, or can, on like the amount of time, or I don't know. I feel like it's quality over quantity always.
Always, always, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
how did you transition from world bronze Canadian national team superstar, geez, like, and then not give up and be like, I'm out for the rest of my life. Like, I'm good. How did you transition from that to working on the Olympic committee for 3 Olympics?
Mhm.
That must have been incredible, especially seeing like all of this stuff, you know, the newsworthy stuff with women this year in the Olympics with like
Mhm.
uniforms and just showing up and mental health.
Yes.
And like what was that experience like for you?
Yeah. So 7 years working within the Olympic world, and those 3 Olympics. I mean, watching, as you're noting, watching the women walking away because they're like, actually, I need to take care of my mental health and prioritizing themselves first. Yeah,
Yeah.
magic.
That's it. That's it. No words. That's it. Like,
Mhm.
wow.
Mhm.
Let's talk
So
about that.
gender equality getting closer in terms of the amount of sports that women participate in events in the Olympics versus men. It was always pretty disparate. They're getting closer to 50-50. It's not there, even in terms of like the number of events that women can get involved in. So that was something where it's like, yes, like we're overdue,
Yeah.
and yes. And that canoeist from Canada that like finally got to go to the Olympics, compete in her sport that she's wanted to for so long. Yeah, there's moments like that where it's like, oh, was available to men, or that sport or that event or that, you know, weight classification, whatever it is. And so now they're starting to get a little bit more equal from a gender perspective too, which was huge to see this past Olympics as well. And I don't know if it's talked about as much because some of these elements were talked about more, which is super important around our mental health and taking care of ourselves. It was massive. But yeah, I mean, I've got all kinds of stories from working 3 Olympic Games on the ground. Whew.
Yeah. Well, tell me one. Like, yeah, tell me your favorite one. Like, what's a story that we need to hear about what it's
Mm.
like to work, you know, on the ground at the Olympics, you know, even as a woman, and experiencing that, you know, that just must have been just so wild. I'm just
Mhm.
so amazed at your experience. It's really great.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's the working the Olympics is like a roller coaster, and we talk about it when we're there, and it's like it feels terrible to say, you know, now and here, but we talk about like the grind, or you know, if it's a photographer, we talk about like the realities of working it, which like people are just like, oh, like this must be amazing, and it is,
All right.
and behind the scenes are like sometimes unlike you would ever imagine. Like I remember getting, and I'll go more to a positive story, but a small snippet of the reality. But in Sochi, Russia, my colleague and we were waiting to do a Facebook. I think it was no, this is before Facebook Live. It was a Facebook like Q&A because it was 2014. Facebook Live came out in 2016. So it was a Q&A. We were waiting, and then the athlete like went to get drug tested. So we were like waiting for that normal protocol. After they won gold. And so we're up in the mountains and we're waiting. And then after drug testing, there was something and they couldn't come and do the Facebook Q&A. And because we were waiting, we missed the last bus that was going to take us back to the main press center in the mountains, and then back to the main press center on the coast, and then back to our hotel. So we're like, okay, at this point, it's like 2 a.m. Like, how do we figure out, we're stranded in the mountains. How do we get
In Russia.
somewhere? Yeah, in Russia. And so like, I just remember getting back to like the main press center in the mountains, which I don't even remember that part of the story. I don't even know how we got there, but we did. And then we were there for a couple hours, and then we were able to take the first bus in the morning at like 5 a.m. down to the coast. And then we get to the coast and there's nobody there because it's like before any events start. We're the main press center. We're walking around. We had a list of approved taxis we could have, and I called every single one of them. And when I spoke English, they just hung up because they have English dispatchers during certain hours during the day, but not that early. So I'm like, okay, there goes that. And then I remember hearing somebody that like the one person that I saw that was at the main press center, and he was speaking Russian. I just knew it. And I walked over and I was like, hello. And he goes, hello. And I was like, do you speak Russian? And he was like, like, of course, whatever. And then I was like, English? And he's like, yes. And I was like, can you call this a taxi?
Yeah, I gotta go home.
And it wasn't on the approved list. And like, so my colleague and I were like kind of sweating about the situation because they told us only take the ones off of this particular list, you know, it's different there, all of these things, yada, yada, yada. And I remember like making it back to my bed and just being like, okay, like,
Decompress.
let me take a quick nap and start again. And that was just like another day and another night within the Olympics. So there's like the realities of the stories like that. There's the realities of like covering moguls in Pyeongchang and never being colder in my entire life on the side of that mountain. And the phone I would have like, you know, those like hot hands. Yeah. I would tape them to the back of my phone and the back of my phone batteries because it was so cold, the battery would die like every 10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I remember having like literally just like, I had 6 total backup, I don't know, the brand's Mophie. I try not to say brands on things because I'm so used to it within like the sports world that you can only say certain brands. Yeah, anyway, sure. Like a battery pack for your phone. And I had 6 of them fully charged on me at all times so that in these cold environments, when it just kept dying, that I could still get the updates out around like every time Canada won gold or whatever it was that we were covering at the time. So yeah, there's all these like interesting intricacies behind the scenes, but overall, I will say, I mean, it's pretty surreal to been that 4-year-old that said, I'm going to the Olympics, and that like I chose a sport, synchronized skating, that I had hoped was going to be an Olympic sport. And it's, you know, it's a world official world championship sport, but it's not in the Olympics. And so that was the only part of my dream. You know, I did everything I could in that sport, and but it was the only part of the dream that wasn't like as fulfilled as I would have liked to paint that, you know, right, for myself. And then, you know, I get this opportunity to go and fulfill that dream in another way, participate in the Olympics, covering the athletes' stories, bringing that content back to fans via social, via web, app. And so there was an element of that was so incredibly fulfilling to have like, as a 4-year-old said, I'm going to go do this. And then to take that, you know, and go and do it within my career. Oh, one more thing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I'm like in it. I'm like, go tell me all the things. Yeah. I'm in. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
So while I was at university, while I was skating on the national team, I was also working, and I was working at Lululemon, and they every athlete works at Lululemon. I'm just thinking, I was like, oh yeah, a couple of my other friends who are athletes. Yeah, you all worked at Lululemon. Lulu's got a thing going on there. I'm just telling you. They're amazing. And they were the only brand I worked for during the time that I skated that would accommodate my schedule. My schedule was insane. And like, sometimes it would just be like, all of a sudden, like, oh, like we added extra training on Saturday. I can no longer do that shift. And they're like, go, like, that's your priority, go. And then still come back and work when you can. Like, do you know what I mean? It was wild. So that's why, like, so much gratitude. They were very
big love to Lululemon. Yeah.
But they had us write down our goals. And I remember doing goal coaching when I was there as well. And so we had to put them on the wall. And I remember when I left, I literally put in like my 10-year goals or something that I said I was going to work for the Olympics. And that I was going to be a cross between, I don't remember what I said at the time, like a marketing director and a creative director. I think I didn't know that digital director existed then.
Yeah, fair.
And so fast forward, and it was like, gosh, it was not 10 years. It was like, I don't know, 3, 4.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then it's, digital director at the Olympics. And I had forgotten about that. I wrote that goal down. It was like that goal sheet was like away in a drawer. And then it wasn't until I was moving, and this is after Sochi, and I pull, like, I'm like, you know, going through everything, and I'm going through this drawer, and I find this piece of paper that's like, I am going to be working as title for the Olympics. And I was like, holy,
wow. Oh, you're a specific manifester. That's what we call that. A specific manifester.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
And I love that specific. I want to learn more about that.
Yeah. Because there's 2 different. So it's really interesting when we talk about manifestation. Mm-hmm. So there's specific and non-specific manifestation. So people out there who teach about manifestation, some of them have it wrong, because some of them will teach you different, like a very rigid style of manifestation, or like these types of activities. But what they don't do is discern right away what type of manifestor you are. So some people are signing up for manifestation courses and stuff and not recognizing what kind of manifestor they are. And then the manifestations don't really work. And it's like, well, what is this about? Well, it's because you have to recognize, are you a specific or non-specific manifestor? And I work with, in my program. So with my patients, all of my patients who sign up for one of my programs get a human design session with our human design coach. And in human design, that's where you actually learn what kind of manifestor you are.
Manifesting generator.
Yeah. Are you? Okay, amazing. Yeah, we're batteries. I'm just a generator, and we're batteries. So yeah, anyways, that's why we're like this right now. We're like, the energy, we're feeding off of each other. We're like, oh my God, tell me all the things. I'm so excited.
I'm like, I have to tell you more.
Yeah. Like, yes. Tell me more batteries. This is what we're doing with one another. It's the best.
I love it. I love it.
So it sounds like you're a specific manifestor, and you specifically manifested, I will be like the head of content at the Olympics. And then 3 years later,
it was insane. Yeah. When I found that goal sheet, I literally just stood there in awe, because I forgot I wrote that down like that.
Wow. So then after that, and I like, because you were just hitting dreams. Like, you're like, I'm gonna skate, I'm gonna like do this, I'm gonna medal, I'm gonna be at the Olympics. And now it's like, it's almost like your dreams just like shifted. Now you're in the US, you're in Cleveland, you're working for an incredible NBA team. How did that happen?
So another dream, but for about, I don't know, I guess the last 10 years, I was like, I want to live and work in the States. It was just one of those things that I wanted to do. And you talk to your best friends about some of these things, and they come up and they know it's like the ones that remind you, like, what about that thing you said that you like wanted to do, or that you were going to do? Are you going to go do that, or what?
Super important friends. Yeah.
And so it was really, for me, about having new experiences, living in a new place, having that kind of, life in America experience. I feel like it's, we're, sister, cousins, whatever you want to call Canada and the US. There's like neighbors. But there's a different energy. There's a different work culture. There's nuances, and I wanted to experience this. And so this was definitely one of the other ones. The one thing I will say though, is that we're going through my highlights. There are, all of the challenges and the transitions and all of the things in between, just to humanize it all. And, the transition post athletic career, I remember at the time, I felt like I needed to reinvent myself, because everybody I knew in my life knew me as a figure skater. So I felt like, okay, now that I'm not that anymore, then what am I? And people go through these moments. Yeah. And for me, I remember that moment in time being challenging. And now I look back and I was like, oh no, you're just inherently valuable for like being you. And so there's no something that you have to be in the world. It's just like, you're valuable because you exist as you, like, period.
Okay. Take a moment for that and go on. Okay. Yeah.
At the time, you're still learning, right? You're like, I'm still young, I was still learning. I mean, we're still young, but like, you know what I mean? Like fresh out of university, and I'm like, reinvent myself. So that's where I dove into dedicating myself from a work perspective. I was like, let me grow. First of all, I was also broke.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I need to start making money. I remember like getting by on for a week on peanut butter, like, because I was like, okay, I just need to get to Friday.
Yeah, no kidding.
Peanut butter for the whole week.
Yeah,
no bread, just peanut butter.
It's a good thing you didn't stick with a geography degree. Let me just tell you right there. Right now, I've been peanut butter for a while. I'm just, no offense to everybody who has a geography degree. I'm sure you're lovely humans.
There's some big things. Maybe they're off, like doing photography while traveling. Like maybe they added like extra things in the geography degree.
Tectonic plates, totally. Yeah.
100%. but okay. So just wanted to add that human element in terms of like, we're all human and we have these like moments in our,
Of course.
And that reinvention one was at the time, I was like, okay, I'm going to just dive in. I remember like sitting there coding websites. Like that was the first thing that I would like on like Friday night. I'm such a nerd, but like sometimes my friends would be like, okay, like, you know, we're going to have like one night in and we'll see each other for every other night of partying, as you do at that age. And so I would be like, okay, cool. I need to teach myself something like tonight. And I had that drive from skating where I was like, where do I put all this energy? I had this like thing that was like, you know, here's where we're going. And we're going to the world championships every year. And like, this is what we're working towards. And you're doing it and you're surrounded with the same energy of people that are also working towards that. And then you're going to the bar like 5 nights? Well, that was an exaggeration, but like, yeah, you're going out with your friends. And then like, all I could think about was like negating the damage to my body every night. So like, how long do I need to work out tomorrow to like release all of this, like the toxins from the day? So you know what I mean? Because you have the athlete perform. So you like have this thing and then you're like, what do I do now? Like, am I like, what? I'm just like an average person going to a bar now? Like,
with a great butt. Yeah. Average person going to the bar with a great butt. Like what now? What do I do with my life?
That's also always been helpful too.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so anyways.
Do you think then that like that discipline, right, of being an athlete, like, do you equate a lot of your success to those lessons of your life, you know, to those experiences of your life?
100%. I feel like as an athlete, whether it's tenacity, whether it's drive, whether it's like just relentless dedication, like whatever it is that, you know, somebody puts a challenge in front of you and you're like, great, like, let's go. This is the direction we're headed in. Here's what we're going to do to get there. Everybody on board, let's go. Like, and people, you know, they're on board and they roll with you and like, they're more than happy to like be working towards this thing that is more meaningful than, I don't know, whatever else you might just do on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. So 100% like that, all those years as an athlete and everything that
that got you here. Okay. So now you decide to transition, you know, into this new role. But what advice do you have for women who are going through major life transitions right now? Because that's the one thing that I am seeing from women all over, you know, a large majority of my patient load is women. I do have men, but a large majority of them are women. And after kind of surviving this pandemic, right? It's being in this place on a global scale, transition, coping with transition, you know, doing that work. What kind of advice do you have for people? Because what helped you? What were some of the tools, the coping strategies, the mindfulness, right? Give us some of your magic, Georgia. Lay it on us.
So the first thing, and I feel like we all have these lessons that we learn throughout our journeys, but the first one I would say is flow with life. And I used to be a go, 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 push, 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 drive, 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 make it happen person, always, nothing else. And then I feel like life experiences can stop you in your tracks, and we all have them and they look differently. And for me, one of them was the sudden death of my father. And so it's like you have these moments, and for me, the world stops turning, but then the world's still turning for everybody else. And I'm like, what do you mean? And so there's things like that happen. And as you are, you know, one foot in front of the other in that chapter, in that where you are in that moment, gosh, I feel like their lessons are just so plentiful once you're like on the other, I don't even want to call it the other side of it. Once you continue to move through the intense grief, there's so much perspective you have on life, on the world, right? I remember there was a series of things for me, and this was like a moment in time. And I'm going there because for some people, the pandemic was a moment in time for them, and there was all of these things, and they know what they are for them.
Yeah.
And for me, this is actually the year before the pandemic. The pandemic for me was like, okay, like I can sit in my home and like we're good because I'm at peace because I just went through all of these things. And so this is actually personally better than all of the things that I just, got to the other side of. And not to make light of the pandemic, it's different people, different experiences, and it's so challenging for so many people. And for me, my largest challenge was the year prior. And so after my dad's passing, and then I was in a car accident while in Rome, and while I was in a taxi and was like taken to the hospital there were all these things. So it was like a bunch of things in a row. And the ending of a relationship. So then you toss in some casual heartbreak.
Yeah, girl. Yeah.
I say casual, but my goodness, gosh, I was in the depths of that one. Yeah, ripping her out.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was all of these things. And so, I tell you them only because of the lessons that then come. And so after all these things happen, I was like, you know what, like if we're going to just take pieces of my life, and I was like, might as well just do the whole thing. Like,
right? Yeah, let's just ship it. Yeah, ship it. All right, we're out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? Like, I need a break. I need a break more than anything else. I just need to come back to me. I love traveling. I've done a ton of traveling. And I ended up spending 2 months. I went to Taiwan, Bali, Australia, New Zealand. And my whole intention was to flow with life. And my original intention actually was to travel for a whole year. And to take you back in the moment of time, the year was 2020.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Yeah. A lot of people had plans for 2020. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so, and again, I know I'm being long-winded because I'm telling so many stories along the way, but this flow with life magic is unbelievable and incredible if you surrender and allow it. And one of the books that I love is Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer.
Yeah. Yeah, highly recommend. I haven't read it yet, but it's on my list of the books.
Highly, 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 highly recommend. Can I give a synopsis? Would that give it away?
Yeah, no, give a synopsis. Do it. I love that. Yeah.
So he's like this, he's like getting his PhD, but he has this draw to like instead be a hippie in the woods and just like have a house in the woods and like spend his days meditating. And like, that was going to be his life. And that he like was trying to remove himself from academia. And I think he did for a bit and whatnot, but the whole thing was he decided that he was going to surrender to life and what it brought at him. So when things came up, excuse me, I'm sorry, he would say yes to them. And so, there were all of these things that came up and his head was screaming like, oh no, I don't want to do that. Or like, that looks like work, or like, no, that's not the type of work I do, or whatever, all of these things. But instead he made his entire life a surrender experiment. This hippie in the woods ends up being like a billionaire also, but also still that hippie in the woods.
Yeah. Always once a hippie in the woods, always a hippie in the woods. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Has this like spiritual practice and builds this meditation center and hosts gurus from all over the world, and also has like $1 billion tech business and just like all of these things. And the only reason he had them was because he said yes to things, even though his logical mind was like, no, why would I do that? And I say all of that because here I am, and I'm going to travel for a year, and it's February, and I'm interviewing for the job that I have now. And I'm interviewing and I'm going through the process, and I'm thinking like, travel the world for a year, or work. Like, I don't even know no matter what the job was, but like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's it. That's the basic. Yeah. Travel or work.
Yeah. And at this point it's February 2020. So it's not a global pandemic yet. We didn't know, I didn't know the world was going to shut down. I don't know.
I had no idea.
For some people.
I went to a couple parties in February 2020. I was like, okay, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah. it wasn't until March, for most, at least our side of the world. But I'm like, wait, but like, why does, like, my gut is like 1000% take this job. Yeah, this is for your highest good. There's a lot here for you. And my brain is like, but travel for a year. Are you kidding? What do you mean? And even though like I always like working in digital and working in innovation and like trying to push the limits within that field, the NBA does it better than any other league. Period. All right. And so I remember within the Olympic world of being like, okay, like if there was another environment that really like fosters what you do within it, no resistance. So there's a lot of resistance around people that are like forging change and things like that. But there's so much embrace within the NBA to like push the limits within that realm. And so I was like, okay, if I did, like, that would be the league that I would want to work within and work for a team within it. And so, anyways, all of this showed up and I decided to trust my gut and finish, like, block off the rest of my travel plans. And so made all of these calls in February and, told a couple of people like, hey, like coming back to Canada, I'm going to go to Australia and New Zealand first, and then I'll be back and pack up my stuff and south of the border.
Right into Cleveland. Yeah,
100%. And some people were like, that's amazing. Some people were like, you're crazy. And I'm like, great. Like
that's how I know I'm doing it right. Yeah,
exactly. But the timing, the day I flew home was the day the border closed between Canada and the USA. And that was pre-planned in the middle of February. It just so happened that, once I got that job, then I planned my way home. I would have been like stuck and like really scrambling to get home and higher costs and all this stuff. That flight that day was sold out. Like it was, everybody was trying to get home and race home. And it was just like, it was kind of unbelievable, the timing. And it was all because I like trusted my gut and had pre-decided ahead of 2020 that I was going to start flowing with life more. And so it's kind of beautiful when these things come up where your logical brain is like, but you could travel for a year. Clearly I couldn't have traveled for the year, but my brain didn't know that. But my gut did. And so I get to do this other thing that I've always wanted to do. And here I am. So that's kind of one of those lessons.
And here you are being a badass in the NBA, living your best life, going with the flow and defying all odds, all dreams, all everything. And you're just amazing, Georgia. This has been such a pleasure hanging out with you tonight.
I have loved hanging out with you. And I remember following you on Instagram originally, and I was like, sexologist? Oh, hell yes.
Let's do this one. Yeah, thanks, girl. I appreciate that love. I do. I appreciate that. Any last final thoughts, inspirations? Because, you talk a lot about going with the flow and what that means. And like, as a manifesting generator, that totally makes sense because you are meant to receive. And like, it is so incredible that you have hit your stride in that. What advice do you have for women and men, for humans, who may be feeling some resistance towards accepting their flow, towards falling into their flow or flowing with their flow, all of that good stuff?
Oh my goodness. I just feel like that trust, faith, that everything's going to work out. Like the one thing that, especially with going through massive life change, life turns out and like none of us make it out alive.
Yeah. That's such a great mindset. We're not going to make it out alive. So I don't know what you're working so hard for.
Yeah. I always loved, there's a Steve Jobs quote. I remember I had to give it in a speech. I don't know if I could remember right now, but I'll try. Remembering you're going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose.
Oh, well, on that note, it's true. It's true, right? Time is precious. Time is limited. And it is also a construct. So don't get stuck behind it, right? I get that. I totally get that. Oh, Georgia, thank you again so much for being one of my goddesses here today with me. I appreciate it so, so much. I wish you nothing but the best. I can't wait to see you on the Instagram and like just grow your beautiful face off. I was like, girl, if I come to Cleveland, I'm calling you. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Come anytime, visit. I need visitors.
Yeah, I'll go. I like to travel too. I'm in. I'm totally in.
Okay, yes. Oh yeah, we'll have the best time here. I'm gonna bring a lot of tourism to the city.
Yeah.
Everybody from Toronto.
Hey everybody. Welcome.
No, but really, thank
Yeah.
you so much for tonight. This has been lovely. I mean, I can't wait to continue to follow your Toronto adventures as well. I'm right there. Anything you need, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm gonna message you. I'm gonna be like, so where's that good Greek place I need to go to? Because like,
I got you on
yeah,
that one.
yeah, okay. All right, goddesses, thank you. Lovelies, thank you so much for watching. Get your hearts up. I love you, and have a great night.